immigration attorney with Walker Yates Vela in Austin, Texas. We are an immigration firm in Central Texas, but we serve clients from all over the United States. It's important for me to always remind people that even though we're based in Central Texas, immigration law is federal, applies to all of the United States, and we are proud to serve immigrants from all around the country. Today in this video, we're talking about the I-864 and specifically the documents that need to be provided in support of the I-864. Now, the form I-864 is really important for any immigrant who is trying to become a permanent resident, because in order to do that, you have to prove that your petitioner, the person who filed the I-130, makes enough money or has enough money in their bank accounts or in their assets to support the immigrant at a minimum guideline according to a minimum federal poverty guideline. So every petitioner has to sign this I-864 and provide evidence of their income in order for that immigrant to be able to get their residency. There's a lot of confusion about which documents have to be provided and which documents are most important to go with the I-864. So that's what this video is about. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that I can show you a form that we have created at Walker Yates Vela that we use to help our clients understand exactly which documents they need and exactly which documents are required from which person. This document is customizable. We use it to customize it for each of our clients, and we're providing a link to it below this video. So you can download this and hopefully it can help you as well understand exactly what documents are required from your sponsor. And if you're using additional co-sponsors or household members' income to meet those federal poverty guidelines, then this document hopefully can help you keep track of exactly what you need from each person as well. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and then we will go through that list. Okay, so this is the document that we use for our clients, and as you can see here at the bottom, there are some areas that you can kind of click down here and fill in. First is date requested. That's really something that we use for our purposes at the firm. And then this title box right here is where you put the name of the petitioner, the person who filed and signed the I-130. That person is going to have to provide documents no matter what. So the petitioner is always required. Here is where we at the firm list out our beneficiary or applicant. That is the client, the immigrant, the person who is going to receive the benefit of having this I-864 filed. So that helps us keep track of whose case it is. So this is where we would put, let's see, Jane Doe. And then the petitioner, let's call the petitioner in this case John Smith. Now, when we put, we're going to put today's date. When we put John Smith's name here, you'll see that that populates up here in the areas where we're talking about documents we need from the petitioner. Now, what's most important to notice about this form is that these documents here are Xed off. Each of these is required in every immigration case. They include tax returns, an employment confirmation letter, and 3 recent check stubs or proof of income for the sponsor or petitioner. Okay, all of these are required for the I-130 petitioner in every case. Now, there are some situations that some kind of subtleties that we should discuss. First and foremost is the I-864 documents that are required to be submitted with the I-864 only require 1 year of tax returns. However, the information inside the I-864 requires information for the past 3 years that was filed to the IRS. Therefore, in order for us to complete the I-864 properly, we need 3 years of tax returns and 3 years of W-2s or 3 IRS transcripts for the past 3 years, the most recent 3 tax years. Right now, we're in 2021, so most of our clients have already filed taxes for 2020. If we have, since we haven't yet, we're today on April 1st, we haven't yet arrived at April 15th, the tax filing deadline for the federal government. So we're able to still submit 2019 taxes without triggering an RFE, or request for additional evidence. After we pass that tax filing deadline, if we try to file a case with 2019 taxes for the petitioner, the IRS is going to, the USCIS or the Department of State, the National Visa Center, they're going to come back to us and say, we need those 2020 taxes. So it's really important that I-130 petitioners do definitely have their taxes filed and up to date. And the same is true for any co-sponsor as well. Now, this is the most important document in the packet that you are going to file with your I-864. It's the employment confirmation letter, okay? The petitioner, if the petitioner has a job, has an employer, then the petitioner's employer needs to provide a letter to them on company letterhead that confirms their employment and their salary, how much they're paid, whether that's per hour, per year, per month, whether they get commission, bonus, overtime, all of that detail and information needs to be included in that employer letter. The reason that this is so important is because that number that ends up in that employer letter is the number that will be calculated for salary purposes. That is the number that will be compared by USCIS or by the National Visa Center to the minimum federal poverty guidelines for the household size of the petitioner. That's the number that's going to determine whether you need a co-sponsor or not. So it is super important to make sure that your employer letter is done correctly, that the employer includes any income that they think that they are going to pay you for this particular tax year. They include it all, and they sign it on company letterhead to verify that they are anticipating paying you, the petitioner, a certain amount. Now, in addition to the taxes and the employer letter, you do need to also provide 3 recent proofs of income. That can be check stubs from paychecks. It can be proof of direct deposits to your bank account. It can even be handwritten checks from clients. Now, a lot of petitioners are self-employed, and so in that case, they can also create an employer letter for themselves and create their own company letterhead if necessary to provide their employment information. In order to do that, however, in order to do it successfully, they're going to have to provide a little bit more information from their tax returns. So in those cases, we really do recommend a tax transcript, because that way USCIS will be able to go into all the business side of things and take a look at what you anticipate making based on last year's income. If you are going to use assets to make up any gap that you have between your income anticipated for this year and the minimum federal poverty guidelines for your household size, then you will need to do that as well. And that list of things that we typically use for our clients is here. Maybe bank accounts, savings accounts, assets like stocks or bonds or 401k retirement accounts. It may be property value, and it may be multiple vehicles. If you only have 1 vehicle per adult in your household, you can't use vehicles as assets. But if you have extra vehicles that you own, you can provide copies of titles and the valuations of those vehicles, and that can sometimes be used to make up the difference between what you have in income and the minimum federal poverty guidelines. Now, the assets that you're going to use have to be at least 3 to 5 times the amount in value that is missing between what you earn and what you need. Okay, so you can't just have a 1-to-1 correspondence on the valuation of your assets if you're having to use assets. The assets have to be actually 3 to 5 times more valuable than the amount of money that you're missing. So using assets can be a little tricky, but it definitely is an option if that is what you need to do. So if you're using assets, then you're going to click this little box over here as well. Now, if you're going to use a co-sponsor, a lot of our clients end up using a co-sponsor if the petitioner, the I-130, is either not working, maybe not earning as much as is required for them to sponsor the incoming immigrant, then they will use a co-sponsor. A co-sponsor can be any human being on the face of the earth who is either a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident who earns the minimum amount for their household size, including the prospective immigrant. Okay, so household size calculations is a subject for a whole other video, but suffice it to say that if a petitioner on an I-130 isn't earning enough money, a co-sponsor can be used. And fortunately, the calculation is very simple and straightforward. You check the minimum federal poverty guidelines amount for the household size of that sponsor, add the immigrant to that household size number, look at their income and figure out whether they qualify. I have included down here in the bottom of this document a link to the page where you can check the amount required for the household size on uscis.gov. On uscis.gov/I-864P, all of those calculations are provided for you. So I encourage you to go there and take a look at that. If you're using a co-sponsor, then you're going to need to include the same exact items that you include for the regular petitioner. Okay, you're going to need either 3 years of tax returns and W-2s or 1099s, or you're going to need a tax transcript, an IRS transcript for the past 3 years. And you're going to need 3 years of information to complete that I-864 for the co-sponsor. However, remember, you only need to turn in 1 year with the I-864 to USCIS or to the National Visa Center. In addition, that co-sponsor is going to have to get an employer letter on employer letterhead, and it must include that payment information. That information, again, is what's going to be used to make that final calculation to determine whether the co-sponsor makes enough to sponsor this person or not. 3 recent check stubs or proof of payment. In addition to those items, anyone who's going to be a co-sponsor also must provide proof that they are a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. It is critical that they do that. They must have a U.S. passport, a U.S. birth certificate, or a lawful permanent resident card included with their co-sponsor paperwork. Otherwise, USCIS or NVC will send you a request for that additional documentation. If you're using a household member and Form I-864A as your kind of co-sponsor, then they must provide all of this information as well. They must provide the 3 years of tax returns, including W-2s or 1099s, an employer letter, 3 recent check stubs or proofs of payment, evidence of their U.S. citizenship or lawful permanent residency, and proof of their relationship. They must be a parent, child, sibling over 18 of the petitioner. Okay, it can't just be anyone living in the household. It needs to be a relative. Then finally, they need to also provide proof of their address, their domicile. That may be a bill, it may be a bank statement. It even could be potentially on their employer letter, but one way or another, they have to show where they live. Now, again, if the co-sponsor or the household member is going to use assets to show that they can sponsor this person, again, you may have a household member or a co-sponsor who doesn't work but has a bunch of money in the bank. That's fine. They just need to provide evidence of those assets. The assets need to be, again, 3 to 5 times the amount in value of the shortfall in their earnings. And they need to be able to be made available in liquid form, in other words, in cash within a year. So let's say your co-sponsor has a bunch of stock and they're going to use that stock as kind of collateral or as their evidence that they want to sponsor this person with. Let's say their stock is worth $1 million. They just need to be able to show that within 1 year they could sell that stock and have that $1 million available to them to sponsor that immigrant. Now, no immigrant is going to require $1 million of income or savings or assets in order to be sponsored properly, unless there was a very large family involved in the household size. It would have to be a very, very large household size. But most immigrants need to be shown around, it's around $55,000 for a family of 4 right now in 2021. But again, I always encourage everyone to go to uscis.gov/I-864P and check the federal poverty guidelines for your household size to see exactly how much you're going to need. So this is the document that we use for our clients at Walker Gates Bella. Again, we're going to include a link below this video so that you can download it, use it, customize it for your purposes. I hope that it's helpful for you. If you have any questions about the I-864, about what is required in support of the I-864, you can feel free to leave us a comment below this video. We will respond to comments. If you need more specific advice or help with your case, please reach out to us. You can find us at www.walkergatesbella.com. And when you get to our website, you can click to get on our calendar, schedule a consultation directly on the calendar. You can click to call us. And you can also find us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do a lot of these videos on a weekly basis to provide information to our audience that hopefully will help everyone get good information about how to go through the immigration process. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, and if you need us, we are here for you. Please reach out. Thank you again, and have a great afternoon.